Hello friends, welcome to Old Coins News. In today's video, we will explore four special United States of America Monticello 5-cent coins, the famous 1943 and 1944 war nickels, and the classic 1961 and 1962 Jefferson nickels, featuring the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and E Pluribus Unum. So, make sure to watch the video till the end. The United States of America Monticello 5-cent coin dated 1943 with a P mint mark is one of the most historically significant coins ever produced by the U.S. Mint. Popularly known as the 1943 P Jefferson War nickel, this coin represents a defining moment in American and world history when global conflict reshaped economies, industries, daily life, and even the smallest objects of commerce. Minted during the height of World War II, the 1943 P Jefferson nickel stands as a powerful symbol of national sacrifice, industrial adaptation, faith, unity, and democratic resilience. Though small in size and modest in face value, this 5-cent coin carries an immense historical weight that far exceeds its denomination. America and the world in 1943. The year 1943 was one of the most intense and decisive years of World War II. The United States had been fully involved in the war since late 1941, and by 1943 the nation was operating on a total war economy. Millions of American men were serving in the armed forces across Europe, North Africa, and the Pacific, while millions of women and civilians worked in factories, shipyards, and industrial plants at home. Entire industries were retooled for military production, and raw materials were strictly controlled by the government to ensure victory. Metals such as nickel, copper, and steel were critical for tanks, weapons, aircraft engines, armor plating, and ammunition. Because of this, the U.S. government closely monitored how metals were used, even in coinage. Coins were no longer just money. They became part of the national war strategy. The 1943 P. Jefferson nickel was born directly out of this environment of urgency, discipline, and sacrifice. The Jefferson nickel, origins and purpose. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel that had been in circulation since 1918. While the Buffalo nickel was artistically admired, it wore down quickly in circulation and caused striking problems for the mint. A new design was needed, one that would be durable, practical, and symbolically meaningful. The U.S. Mint chose to honor Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson represented the intellectual foundation of American democracy. He was a statesman, philosopher, architect, inventor, and advocate for individual liberty and limited government. His beliefs in freedom, reason, and human rights made him an ideal figure to appear on U.S. coinage, especially during times when those values were under threat worldwide. Designer Felix Schlag in the coin's artwork. The Jefferson nickel was designed by Felix Schlag, a German-born American sculptor who won a national design competition. Schlag's design featured a dignified portrait of Jefferson on the obverse in Jefferson's home, Monticello, on the reverse. Although the mint required some modifications before approving the final design, Schlag's work achieved a balance of classical simplicity and symbolic depth. By 1943, Schlag's design was already well known to Americans, but during the war years it gained new meaning. The familiar image of Jefferson reminded citizens of the nation's founding principles, while Monticello symbolized American intellect, independence, and cultural heritage. Obverse design, Jefferson, liberty, and faith. The obverse front of the 1943 P. Jefferson nickel features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson. His expression is calm and reflective, conveying wisdom, restraint, and moral strength. This portrait reflects Jefferson not as a warrior, but as a thinker, suggesting that America's greatest strength lies not only in military power, but in ideas and values. The obverse bears three powerful inscriptions that carried deep meaning in 1943. Liberty appears to the right of Jefferson's portrait, followed by the date 1943. Liberty is a cornerstone of American identity. In the context of World War II, the word liberty represented everything the Allies were fighting to protect: freedom from tyranny, freedom of conscience, freedom of nations to govern themselves. In God We Trust appears to the left of Jefferson's portrait. During wartime, this phrase took on profound emotional and spiritual significance. Families with loved ones on the battlefield found reassurance in these words. The motto expressed collective faith that justice, courage, and moral purpose would ultimately prevail over violence and oppression. The obverse design of the 1943p nickel thus became a daily reminder of what America stood for during one of its darkest and most challenging eras. Reverse design, Monticello and national unity. The reverse back of the 1943p Jefferson nickel features Monticello, the Virginia state designed and built by Thomas Jefferson. Monticello is more than a historic building. It is a symbol of Enlightenment ideals, architectural innovation, and democratic thought. Jefferson designed Monticello himself, drawing inspiration from classical Roman and European architecture while adapting it to the American landscape. Above Monticello appears a Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. This phrase perfectly captured the American wartime spirit. In 1943, people of different races, religions, regions, and social backgrounds were united by a single purpose: victory and the preservation of freedom. Soldiers fought side by side, factory workers labored together, and civilians made sacrifices for the common good. Below Monticello are the inscriptions Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America, clearly identifying the coin's design, value, and issuing nation. The historic P mint mark. One of the most remarkable features of the 1943 Jefferson nickel is a large P mint mark located above Monticello on the reverse. This was a historic first. Prior to World War II, the Philadelphia Mint did not use mint marks on most circulating coins. However, wartime conditions required a clear way to identify special coin compositions. The large P mint mark indicated the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. The coin had a wartime silver composition. The coin was part of the Emergency War Nickel series. This mint mark made the 1943p nickel instantly recognizable and permanently unique in American coinage history. Wartime composition, the Silver War nickel. The most important defining feature of the 1943p Monticello 5 cent is its metal composition. Before the war, 5 cent coins were made of 75% copper and 25% nickel. Nickel, however, became a strategic metal essential for military equipment. To conserve nickel for the war effort, the U.S. Mint changed the 5 cent coin composition from late 1942 through 1945. The 1943p Jefferson nickel is composed of 56% copper, 35% silver, 9% manganese. This made the coin a silver coin, commonly called a war nickel. It is the only time in U.S. history that silver was used in the 5 cent denomination. The manganese content caused these coins to age differently, often developing darker toning or grayish appearance. This distinct look further sets the 1943p nickel apart from regular nickels. Mintage and production. The United States of America Monticello 5 cent coin dated 1944 with a P mint mark is one of the most historically meaningful coins ever issued by the U.S. Mint. Commonly known as the 1944p Jefferson War nickel, this coin represents a powerful intersection of American history, global conflict, economic adaptation, and national identity. Minted during the height of World War II, the 1944 Jefferson nickel reflects a time when every aspect of daily life, including coinage, was influenced by the demands of war. This 5 cent piece is not merely currency, it is a wartime artifact, a symbol of sacrifice, and a lasting reminder of unity and resilience during one of the most challenging periods in world history. America in 1944, a nation at war. The year 1944 stands as one of the most decisive years of World War II. By this time, the United States had fully mobilized its economy, military, and population for total war. Millions of American soldiers were stationed overseas, fighting across Europe, the Pacific, and North Africa. Factories operated around the clock, producing tanks, ships, aircraft, ammunition, and supplies. On the home front, civilians faced rationing of food, gasoline, rubber, and metals. Every resource was considered vital, and even the composition of coins was altered to support the war effort. The 1944p Jefferson nickel was minted during this intense period of global struggle. It circulated in the hands of factory workers, farmers, shopkeepers, soldiers on leave, and families saving money while loved ones fought abroad. Each coin silently witnessed wartime America, its fear, hope, determination, and faith in eventual victory. Introduction of the Jefferson nickel. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, which had been in circulation since 1918. Although the Buffalo nickel was artistically admired, its design wore down quickly and caused minting difficulties. The U.S. Mint decided to introduce a new 5-cent coin that would be more durable and that would honor one of the nation's most important founding fathers. Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, was chosen for the new design. Jefferson was not only a political leader but also a philosopher, architect, diplomat, and author of the Declaration of Independence. His ideals of liberty, democracy, education, and individual rights made him a fitting symbol for American coinage, especially during times when those values were under threat abroad. Designer Felix Schlag. The Jefferson nickel was designed by Felix Schlag, a German-born American sculptor. His winning design presented a refined and dignified portrait of Jefferson on the obverse in Jefferson's Virginia home, Monticello, on the reverse. Schlag's design emphasized simplicity, clarity, and symbolism, making it ideal for mass production and long-term circulation. Although the U.S. Mint made some modifications to Schlag's original reverse design before final approval, the basic elements remain intact and continue to be used for decades. Obverse design, Jefferson and the Ideals of Liberty. The obverse front of the 1944 P. Jefferson nickel features a left-facing profile of Thomas Jefferson. His expression is calm, thoughtful, and composed, reflecting wisdom, leadership, and intellectual depth. Jefferson's portrait serves as a reminder of the philosophical foundations of the United States and the enduring principles upon which the nation was built. 3 powerful inscriptions surround Jefferson's portrait. Liberty appears on the right side of the coin, followed by the date 1944. Liberty is a core value of the American identity, representing freedom from tyranny, freedom of thought, and self-government. In 1944, this word carried extraordinary weight, as American soldiers fought overseas to defend liberty not only for their own country but for much of the world. In God We Trust is inscribed on the left side of the obverse. During World War II, this phrase became deeply meaningful to Americans. It expressed faith in divine guidance and moral strength during a time of uncertainty, loss, and sacrifice. Families with sons, husbands, and brothers at war found comfort in this message, which appeared daily in their hands through coins like the 1944 P nickel. The overall obverse design is balanced and dignified, reinforcing the idea that American strength comes from its values as much as its military power. Reverse design, Monticello and national unity. The reverse back of the 1944 P. Jefferson nickel features Monticello, the famous estate designed and built by Thomas Jefferson in Virginia. Monticello is more than a residence. It is a symbol of American enlightenment, innovation, and democratic ideals. Jefferson designed Monticello himself, blending classical architecture with modern thought, reflecting his belief in reason, knowledge, and progress. Above Monticello appears the inscription E pluribus unum, a Latin phrase meaning out of many, one. This motto perfectly captures the spirit of the United States, particularly during wartime. In 1944, Americans from different races, religions, regions, and background came together as one nation to confront a global threat. The phrase symbolized unity, cooperation, and shared purpose. Below Monticello are the inscriptions Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America, clearly identifying the coin's denomination and issuing authority. The large P mint mark, a historic first. One of the most distinctive features of the 1944 Jefferson nickel is the large P mint mark, located above Monticello on the reverse. This was the first time in U.S. history that the Philadelphia Mint placed a mint mark on a circulating coin. The reason for this change was practical and historical. During World War II, the U.S. Mint altered the composition of the 5-cent coin to conserve nickel, a metal critical for armor plating and military equipment. To clearly identify these special wartime coins, the Mint placed large mint marks above Monticello. The P mint mark on the 1944 nickel immediately identifies it as a Philadelphia Mint issue, a wartime silver nickel, a coin struck under emergency conditions, wartime composition, the Silver War nickel. The most significant characteristic of the 1944 P. Jefferson nickel is its wartime composition. Prior to World War II, 5-cent coins were made of 75% copper and 25% nickel. However, nickel became a strategic material needed for the war. To preserve nickel for military use, the U.S. Mint introduced a new alloy for 5-cent coins from 1942 to 1945. The 1944p nickel contains 56% copper, 35% silver, 9% manganese. This made the 1944p Jefferson nickel a silver coin, commonly known as a war nickel. It is the only period in U.S. history when the 5-cent coin included silver. The presence of manganese gave these coins a slightly different appearance and aging pattern. Many 1944p nickels display a darker tone or grayish surface, distinguishing them from regular nickels. Mintage and production. The Philadelphia Mint produced an enormous number of 1944p Jefferson nickels to meet the demand of wartime economy. Approximately 119 million coins were struck at Philadelphia in 1944. Despite the large mintage, these coins experienced heavy circulation. Many were worn down through daily use, making high-grade examples more desirable today. Circulation in daily life. In 1944, the Jefferson nickel was an essential part of everyday transactions. 5 cents could buy basic necessities. The United States of America Monticello 5-cent coin dated 1961 with a D mint mark is an important example of mid-20th century American coinage and a significant chapter in the long history of the Jefferson nickel series. Though it was minted during a time of peace rather than war, the 1961 D Jefferson nickel reflects a different but equally meaningful era in American history, an era defined by the Cold War, rapid industrial growth, social change, and America's expanding role as a global superpower. This coin represents stability after wartime sacrifice, continuity in national values, and the everyday economic life of millions of Americans during the early 1960s. America in 1961, a changing world. The year 1961 marked the beginning of a new decade and a turning point in American history. The United States was no longer emerging from war but was deeply engaged in the Cold War, a long ideological struggle between democracy and communism. In January 1961, John F. Kennedy became president, inspiring a new generation with ideas of progress, responsibility, and global leadership. Events such as the space race, the civil rights movement, and tensions with the Soviet Union shaped the national mood. Despite these challenges, American industry was strong, consumer goods were widely available, and everyday commerce relied heavily on coins like the 5-cent piece. The 1961 D Jefferson nickel circulated freely in this environment, passing through grocery stores, schools, factories, diners, and vending machines, becoming part of daily American life. The Jefferson nickel series, historical background. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. The new design honored Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States and the author of the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson was chosen not only for his political leadership, but also for his philosophical influence on American democracy, individual liberty, and constitutional government. By 1961, the Jefferson nickel design had already been in use for over 2 decades. It was familiar, trusted, and widely accepted by the public. Unlike wartime nickels of the early 1940s, the 1961 D nickel returned to the standard copper-nickel composition, signaling a period of material stability and economic normalcy. Designer, Felix Schlag, an enduring design. The Jefferson nickel was designed by Felix Schlag, a German-American sculptor whose work won a national design competition in the 1930s. Schlag's design was praised for its simplicity, durability, and symbolic depth. His portrait of Jefferson conveyed intelligence and calm authority, while the reverse image of Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, symbolized learning, creativity, and democratic ideals. By 1961, Schlag's design had become one of the most recognizable coin designs in the United States. Its longevity reflected both its artistic success and its ability to convey national identity across generations. Obverse design, Jefferson, liberty, and faith. The obverse, front, of the 1961 D Monticello 5-cent features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson. The portrait is refined and dignified, emphasizing Jefferson as a thinker and statesman rather than a military figure. This portrayal reinforces the idea that America's strength comes from ideas, law, and reason. 3 important inscriptions appear on the obverse. Liberty is inscribed to the right of Jefferson's portrait, followed by the date 1961. Liberty is the foundation of American democracy, representing freedom of speech, belief, and opportunity. In the early 1960s, the word liberty was especially meaningful as the United States positioned itself as a defender of freedom on the global stage during the Cold War. "In God We Trust" appears to the left of Jefferson's portrait. By 1961, this motto had become a central expression of national faith and moral identity, particularly in contrast to the officially atheistic communist states of the era. The phrase reflected the spiritual values many Americans believed distinguished their society. Together, these inscriptions gave the coin a strong ideological message: freedom guided by faith and responsibility. Reverse design, Monticello and national identity. The reverse back of the 1961 D. Jefferson nickel features Monticello, the historic home designed and built by Thomas Jefferson. Monticello represents more than architecture. It symbolizes American intellectual tradition, innovation, and independence. Jefferson's hands-on involvement in designing Monticello reflected his belief in education, science, and self-reliance. Above Monticello appears the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. This phrase captures the essence of the American experiment, a nation formed from diverse peoples, cultures, and backgrounds united under shared principles. In 1961, as social change accelerated and civil rights issues gained national attention, this motto reminded Americans of the importance of unity and equality. Below Monticello are the inscriptions Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America, clearly identifying the coin's design, denomination, and issuing authority. The D mint mark, Denver Mint. The D mint mark on the 1961 Jefferson nickel indicates that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado. The mint mark appears to the right of Monticello on the reverse. The Denver Mint played a crucial role in producing large quantities of circulating coinage during the mid-20th century. By 1961, Denver was one of the most productive U.S. mint facilities, helping meet the growing demands of a rapidly expanding economy. The presence of the D mint mark distinguishes this coin from those struck at Philadelphia, no mint mark, and San Francisco, S, allowing collectors to identify its place of origin. Composition and physical characteristics. Unlike the wartime nickels of the 1940s, the 1961 D Jefferson nickel was struck using the standard composition: 75% copper, 25% nickel. This alloy gave the coin durability and resistance to wear, making it suitable for heavy circulation. The coin has a diameter of 21.2 millimeters, a weight of 5 grams, and a smooth, plain edge. The return to the traditional copper-nickel composition symbolized economic stability and the end of wartime material restrictions. Mintage and production. The Denver Mint produced approximately 229 million 1961 D Jefferson nickels, a very large mintage. This high production level reflects the strong demand for coinage in an expanding consumer economy driven by population growth, suburban development, and increased retail activity. Because so many coins were produced, the 1961 D nickel is considered common in circulated condition, but high-grade uncirculated examples are more desirable among collectors. Circulation and daily use. In 1961, 5 cents still had meaningful purchasing power. A Jefferson nickel could be used for public transportation, candy, newspapers, jukeboxes, and vending machines. These coins passed through countless hands: children spending pocket money, workers buying lunch, families shopping for daily necessities. The 1961 D nickel became a silent participant in everyday American life during a decade of optimism, tension, and transformation. Collectability and numismatic interest. While the 1961 D Jefferson nickel is not rare, it holds importance to collectors who specialize in complete Jefferson nickel date and mint sets. Denver Mint issues. Mid-20th century U.S. coinage. The United States of America Monticello 5-cent coin dated 1962, commonly known as the 1962 Jefferson nickel, represents a period of relative stability, confidence, and transformation in American history. Unlike wartime or emergency coinage, the 1962 nickel belongs to an era when the United States had firmly established itself as a global superpower. This coin reflects everyday American life in the early 1960s, a time shaped by economic growth, cultural change, political tension, and expanding global influence. Though modest in face value, the 1962 Monticello 5-cent carries within it the enduring ideals of liberty, faith, unity, and democracy, expressed through its inscriptions and imagery. America in 1962, historical and social context. The year 1962 was a significant moment in modern American history. The United States was deeply involved in the Cold War, an ideological struggle between democracy and communism that influenced politics, economics, science, and culture. In October 1962, the world stood on the edge of nuclear conflict during the Cuban Missile Crisis, one of the most dangerous confrontations of the Cold War. At the same time, American society was undergoing profound changes, including the growth of the civil rights movement, rapid technological advancement, and increased prosperity for many families. Despite global tension, daily life in America continued. People went to work, children attended school, families shopped in neighborhood stores, and businesses relied on coins like the 5-cent piece for everyday transactions. The 1962 Jefferson nickel circulated quietly through this environment, becoming part of the routine rhythm of American economic life while the nation faced historic challenges and opportunities. The Jefferson nickel series, origins and continuity. The Jefferson nickel series began in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. The U.S. Mint sought a design that would be both practical and symbolic, honoring a figure central to the nation's founding. Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States and principal author of the Declaration of Independence, was chosen as the ideal representative of American values. By 1962, the Jefferson nickel had been in circulation for nearly 25 years. Its design was familiar to generations of Americans and had become a symbol of stability and continuity. The fact that the same design continued through war, peace, economic change, and political transformation demonstrates its enduring relevance. Designer Felix Schlag. The Jefferson nickel was designed by Felix Schlag, a German-American sculptor whose work was selected through a national competition. Schlag's design was praised for its clarity, balance, and symbolic strength. His portrait of Jefferson emphasized intellect and calm authority, while the reverse image of Monticello highlighted Jefferson's contributions beyond politics, including architecture, science, and education. By the time the 1962 nickel was struck, Schlag's design had become one of the most recognizable in American coinage history. Obverse design, Jefferson, liberty, and faith. The obverse front of the 1962 Monticello 5-cent features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson's expression is composed and thoughtful, representing reason, leadership, and moral integrity. This portrait reinforces the idea that American democracy is rooted in ideas and principles rather than force. 3 key inscriptions appear on the obverse. Liberty is inscribed to the right of Jefferson's portrait, followed by the date 1962. Liberty is a foundation of American identity, representing freedom of speech, belief, and self-government. In the early 1960s, liberty carried special meaning as the United States positioned itself as a defender of freedom against authoritarian systems around the world. In God We Trust appears to the left of Jefferson's portrait. During the Cold War era, this phrase took on renewed significance. It reflected the moral and spiritual values many Americans believed distinguished their society from communist nations, reinforcing faith during a time of global uncertainty. Together, these inscriptions communicate a powerful message of freedom guided by responsibility and belief. Reverse design, Monticello and national unity. The reverse back of the 1962 Jefferson nickel features Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's home in Virginia. Monticello is more than a residence. It is a symbol of American enlightenment, innovation, and intellectual independence. Jefferson personally designed Monticello, combining classical architectural influences with practical American ingenuity. Above Monticello is a Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. This phrase captures the essence of the United States as a nation formed from diverse peoples united by shared ideals. In 1962, as the country faced civil rights challenges and social change, this motto served as a reminder of unity, equality, and common purpose. Below Monticello are the inscriptions Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America, clearly identifying the coin's design, denomination, and issuing authority. Minting and mint marks in 1962. In 1962, Jefferson nickels were produced at 3 U.S. mint facilities. Philadelphia Mint, no mint mark. Denver Mint, D mint mark. San Francisco Mint, S mint mark, primarily proof coins. The mint mark, when present, appears on the reverse to the right of Monticello. Each mint contributed to meeting the growing demand for coinage in a rapidly expanding consumer economy. Composition and physical characteristics. The 1962 Jefferson nickel was struck in the standard post-war composition: 75% copper, 25% nickel. This durable alloy was well suited for heavy circulation. The coin has a diameter of 21.2 millimeters, a weight of 5 grams, and a plain edge. Unlike wartime nickels of the early 1940s, the 1962 nickel contains no silver, reflecting a period of material stability. Mintage and production scale. The total mintage of 1962 Jefferson nickels was very high, reflecting the strong demand for circulating coinage. Philadelphia, over 97 million coins. Denver, over 280 million coins. These large production numbers make the 1962 nickel common in circulated condition, though well-preserved examples remain popular with collectors. Circulation in everyday life. In 1962, 5 cents still had real purchasing power. A Jefferson nickel could buy candy, newspapers, coffee, or be used in vending machines, jukeboxes, and public transportation. These coins pass through millions of hands every day: students, workers, families, and business owners. The 1962 nickel quietly participated in daily American life during a decade that would soon bring dramatic cultural, political, and social change. Collectability and numismatic interest. While the 1962 Jefferson nickel is not rare, it is an essential coin for collectors building. Complete Jefferson nickel date sets. Mint mark collections. Mid-20th century U.S. coin series. Collectors often seek examples with sharp details, clean surfaces, and strong strikes. Proof versions from San Francisco are especially popular among numismatists. Symbolism and historical meaning. The 1962 Monticello 5 cent symbolizes continuity, confidence, and democratic values. Its inscriptions reflect ideals that remain constant despite global tension. Liberty, freedom as a national principle. In God we trust, faith and moral identity. E pluribus unum, unity and diversity.